topic for today is if not now, when. Originally I wanted to make it longer and go, the time is now, if not now, when, but since we are all getting shortened attention spans due to modern technology, I shortened it. We're going to talk about time and life. Can we talk? When I was a young girl, I wrote a bit of poetry. And I was reminded of a poem I wrote when I was still in high school called The Mouse Whose Name is Time. I'm going to share it with you. The mouse whose name is Time is out of sound and sight. He nibbles at the day, he nibbles at the night. He nibbles at the summer till all of it is gone. He nibbles at the seashore, he nibbles on and on. Yet no man, not a seer, no woman, not a sibyl, can ever hear or see him nibble, nibble. And whence or how he comes, or how or where he goes, nobody dead remembers, nobody living knows. Not sure what that meant, but I wrote that. So, one thing became clear in my preparing for today, and that is that time is definitely a woman. Now, why is that so? We all should know that. We've heard it over and over again. Time waits for no man. So, time is a human construct, of course, something that we have made up to account for time and space variances. In other words, if I walk from here to there, it's the time it takes for me to get from here to there. And so we have time irrevocably connected to space. Time and space are one phrase, really. And it is, because of that, it's a matter of perception. Take this example. Here's an illustration. One day, the tower received a call from an aircraft asking what time is it. The tower responded, "Who's calling?" The aircraft replied, "What difference does it make?" The tower replied, "It makes a lot of difference. If it is an American Airlines flight, it is 3 o'clock. If it's an Air Force plane, it's 1,500 hours. If it's a Navy plane, it is Navy aircraft, it's 6 bells. If it's an Army aircraft, the big hand is on the 12, the little hand is on the 8. And if it's a Marine Corps aircraft, it's Thursday afternoon, 120 minutes to happy hour." I was in the Army, so the big hand. See? Okay. It's all in how we look at it. It's all in how we look at it. Now, to start with, we can ask ourselves, where do we live? In what time frame do we live? We can really only live now, but some people who we know, no one here in this room, I'm sure, lives in the past. Living in the past, and what does that look like? For many, many years, I carried a lot of hurts around from my past, and I had a lot of them. What a burden it was. It reminded me of a sign I saw once in a St. Augustine shop that said, "I'm lost. I've gone out to look for myself. If I should return before I get back, please ask me to wait." And my life for a long time was an example of same song, different verse, a little louder, a little worse. And perhaps this resonates with some of you here, because this can be a very insidious thing, this thing about the past. We get so used to carrying the weight around of old things, old hurts, old slights, what happened, what didn't happen, what somebody said, what somebody didn't say, etc., that it's like walking around in a grocery store or a drugstore with something in your hand, and you walk around, and you put everything in the cart, you got this thing in your hand, and you get to the cashier's thing, and you put out everything from the cart, and you still hold this in your hand because you've forgotten it. Oh, this too, yeah. I've done it a million times. It can be like that. We get so used to carrying the weight, we don't know what it's like not to have it hanging around like an albatross around our necks. And living in the past can take several shapes. We can live in the garden of the unforgiven. Repertoire, that's having a repertoire of past hurts and grievances. And we relive them either as a repeated memory with all of their attendant emotions, or we project them into our current world, which then corresponds to producing a rerun of events, same script with perhaps minor changes in a new cast. I've done that. Move to a new place, have a new relationship, it looks just like the old one. Yeah. Or we could have the woe is me headstone or the shrine of the if onlys. If only I had a better childhood, if only I had a better parent or family, if only I were a woman or a man, if only I were younger or older, if only I were married to someone or someone else, if only I had not gotten married, or if only I were thinner, richer, more educated, whatever the list is. I had that going on for a long time for myself too. If we live that way, we are keeping in place, we are keeping in place, we are standing in place if we invest ourselves in all of that. And if we invest ourselves so totally in the past, we're often residing in shame, guilt, blame, and it's very destructive. We can remember without having our emotions live in it. That's the difference. It's not that we forget. It's just that we move our emotional attachment or our emotional focus to now. To now. Then there's living in the future. I was much more guilty of this one. Living in the future. And that's waiting. That's a waiting game mostly. When this happens, I will. When I have this, I can. Or even worse, when my husband, boss, or family member does this, I will. And that's about fear. And fear, of course, is the ultimate enemy. The antithesis of fear is not bravery. It is love. The opposite of fear and the thing that eradicates it is love. We can be afraid of what might happen, afraid of how others might react, what they might think, afraid of what happened, that what happened before will happen again. And fear, of course, is just false experience appearing real. And I finally got to this point where I made this vow to myself. I will no longer hide from, wait for, or run from life. Now is the moment to live life and enjoy. Now is the moment to love, live, and enjoy. And I made that affirmation to myself. Because the time is now. If not now, when? The truth is, and this is a fundamental truth, that this moment is the only moment we have to do anything. To make a decision or not. To take an action or not. To say an important thing or not. This moment. The past and the future are not here now. The past and the future, the past is a memory, the future is an idea. We can plan for the future, there's no problem with that, as long as we're not waiting for something to happen to be alive, to be vibrant, to focus on this moment. By the way, I've got a secret to tell you. Whenever a minister gives a talk, they're not really giving it to you. They're speaking to themselves. So I'm the one who needs to hear this most today. Just a little aside. Don't share that with anybody. In a book that I love, one of my favorite books called Winning Through Enlightenment, Ron Smotherman, he puts it this way. All the confusion clears up when we realize that there is only one time, and that time is now. If you are willing to experience the truth that is right now, your problems about the past and the future will clear up. Why? Because there's no past or future, there's only right now. If you're stuck in what you call the past, you are stuck right now. If you spend your time each day dreaming about the future, you do that process right now. You can't even go to these places called the past and the future. They are not real. And he goes on to say, if you think you are sometimes troubled by past events, you aren't. You are troubled by a linear memory trace that your mind continues to reactivate in the present. Needless to say, the future is not. Whatever you will bring into the being in your life, you will bring into being in the present or not at all. Now is it. Nothing else counts and nothing else is. We have a little guy with us over there, Ben. He knows how to live in the present. I guarantee you. And I bet some of the adults around him find that very, very frustrating. Because it's almost impossible to yank him out of that, isn't it? That's a gift. The present is what's happening, what we are thinking and feeling, what we are doing now. The only time in which we have power is this moment here and each moment. The point of power is indeed in the present moment. Now is the moment in which we choose to think, choose what we say, and choose what we do, and do it or not, or think it or say it or not. We have absolute control and power over ourselves, our thoughts and our actions at each and every moment. So what do we choose? What does that look like? What does that look like? If I choose peace and ease, and when I say peace, I mean no struggle, no conflict. I choose not to invest in those things. Even if they appear in front of me, it's easy not to have them. It takes two to argue, it takes two to have a conflict, or more. If you are not participating in it, it can't exist in your life. It'll move around you, maybe, but it won't. It can't affect you if you don't take it in. Henry Ward Beecher said this. He said, no matter what looms ahead, if you can eat today, enjoy the sunlight today, mix good cheer with friends today, enjoy it and bless God for it. Do not look back on happiness or dream of it in the future. You are only sure of today. Don't let yourself be cheated out of it. When I was a minister and spoke every week, no matter what I spoke about, the question I heard more than anything else was, I heard you talk about this, but how do I do that? How? So I'm going to give you some how this morning. How do we live in the present? What does that look like? The point of power is in the present moment. And you may have heard that statement before. It means simply only that this is the moment in which you can have a thought, make a decision, or take an action. And it's the only moment is in the present moment. We cannot act, we cannot think, or truly exist in the past or the future, although we may let our emotions get stuck there. And in the overview of this message that came in an email to you, some questions were asked. Can we benefit and be freed by learning to take what each moment offers and maximize our experience in each moment? If so, how can we do this? I'm a belief of that no information that we get is of any use unless we can use it. So let's see how we can use it. This is your homework, folks. Something you can take with you and some things you can begin now. The time is now. If not now, when? We can slow down. Not to a crawl, and not to our detriment. What I mean by slowing down is to focus more clearly on each moment and to be more fully present of it. To take the time to be in the now, and then to be in the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. We can also allow spaces in our lives. Quiet times, time for meditation and contemplation, time for old-fashioned conversation and fellowship, time for laughter, lightheartedness, and fun. We can have spaces in our lives and not always be in the hustle-bustle of things. And we can make a commitment. I've talked before about commitment. We can make a commitment to be mindful in every moment and practice mindfulness. And there are so many ways to do this. Just Google it, people. My God, there's so many. Everybody has advice on how to do it. Daily meditation is great. And there's some simple things you can do. I'll give you one exercise this morning. It's called the 5 senses exercise. And it can be in any setting. You can be in the middle of anything. I was in the hair salon doing it yesterday. 5 things. First of all, 5 senses you take and you look sight. You take 5 things and look at them, and in detail, and you think about them, and you focus on them, and you embrace the color, the shape, whatever. 5 things you see, 5 things, and you describe them to yourself, and you spend time looking at them and really taking them in. Then you hear 4 things around you. Right now, I think I heard somebody cough. I'm hearing a little bit of the air conditioning system. I'm not sure I could come up with 4. I hear my own voice. That's 3 right there. Then 2 things, you think of 2 things you feel. 3 things you feel, sorry. I'm not counting backwards very well. 3 things you feel. Do you feel cold a little bit in this room? Do you feel comfortable in your seat? What do you feel? And maybe you feel joy or peace inside. What do you feel? 3 things. And then 2 things that you smell and 1 that you taste. And you go through that exercise, and in that time frame, it'll take a lot more, probably could take 5 minutes or more. You've done a very good mindfulness exercise for yourself. That's just one of the things I came across. Now, as for whether we can benefit or be liberated by it, I believe strongly that the only way to be fully present in each moment, that being fully present in each moment is the only way to make the most of each moment. To be fully present in it is the only way we can make the most of it. The only way we really can take what's great out of it. Because otherwise we're not fully there. I have the gift of working with a woman. She's a lovely woman. And I know she doesn't even realize her pattern of behavior, but she is always on the next thing. Some part of her being is always doing the next thing while she's doing this thing. So she's never fully in the present. And I look at her and she gets very stressed and very frustrated because when the next thing comes, she's on the next thing after that. And it's a perpetual, it's like the little hamster in the wheel thing going on with her. And I think it's very, very sad in a way. She's very lovely and she's very good at what she does, but it's very tiring for me to watch that. Bless her heart. Being fully present in the moment includes the not so fun times as well. Sometimes there are challenges or sadnesses that are in our life. Generally, even within that, there are gifts and good things. But even if we are fully present in it, it's still a good thing. Being fully present has its gifts. Does anyone here remember the movie Click with Adam Sandler? Yeah, he got this device, a remote. It was a very special remote. It looked like a remote for a television, but it was about life. So he could fast forward and mute and do all those things, but it affected everything around him. And this was a great thing to him, and he started fast forwarding through arguments with his wife, muting out the children when he didn't want to hear them, and fast forwarding when the in-laws came for dinner, and fast forwarding and fast forwarding and fast forwarding, in the intention of just being in those great experiences. But what happened is the remote, which was an intelligent remote, started having a mind of its own. It started accepting his patterns and anticipating what he'd want to do. So it started fast forwarding through everything. Whole decades of his life vanished. And he'd wake up and go, what happened? And eventually it became a real issue, and he tried to get rid of the thing and all of that because it was not what he wanted to do. He really wanted to have experiences, and he began to realize that he needed to have the experiences, all of the experiences, and not just the ones he could pick and choose. Although we can pick and choose by our state of mind in a lot of ways. But I think that's a good lesson for us. You get the chance to see the movie Click. It's a good parable, I think. And what does it mean to be liberated and to be free? What does that mean? To be free, we're already free. We have the opportunity to choose. That's freedom. In another favorite book of mine, A Passion for Life by Muriel and John James, they say to be free is to have the opportunity to choose. Psychologist Rollo May puts it more eloquently in explaining that freedom is the capacity to pause between stimulus and response. Some of you were here for that movie this morning. And in that pause, to choose the one response toward which we wish to throw our weight. With each act, we choose one possibility over another. Some of these choices may be relatively unimportant, such as choosing to go to a movie instead of staying home to watch TV, or choosing to eat one meal instead of another, or wear one style of clothes instead of another. These kinds of choices have little to do with survival or ultimate purposes. They are more choices of comfort or preference. The choices we make when freedom is at stake are much more important. We can choose how to use our time, energies, and resources, and our choices invariably affect others. Therefore, what we do with our freedom to choose is an important matter. How can we have life if we're focusing on something other than life and ourselves? And in this moment, I can be love. In this moment, I can choose to be joy. I can choose to be peace. I can choose to be compassion. And I can choose to be giving and generous of myself and whatever I choose to be generous with. I can make those choices in each and every moment. And each and every moment is important. In The Universe is a Green Dragon, another one of my favorite books by a physicist named Brian Swim, in this book he talks about, really, physics in a new way. It's almost poetic. He creates a whole scenario of a long conversation between a sage older person and a youth. And the sage is a very wise old person. And at one point they're talking about life and death. And the sage tells the youth, rather than hiding from your death or repressing your fear about death, embrace your death, it will serve you. To which the youth responds, how? The sage goes on to explain. He says, by enabling you to show yourself. Precisely because you are aware of the limits of life, you are compelled to bring forth what is within you. This is the only time you have to show yourself. You can't hold back or hide in a cave. You can't waste away in a meaningless job, cramming your life with trivia. The drama of a cosmic story won't allow it. The supreme insistence of life is that you enter the adventure of creating yourself. Each instant of your life has folded into it an unnameable significance. All rests on your self-creativity, for out of you comes the ultimate reality. The dynamics that fashion the stars are now brought into your self-reflective awareness, and what they create is your free adventure, your surprise for the universe. That's what you are and what your life is, your surprise for the universe. What will you surprise the universe with today? So whatever conditions you face, whatever situation in which you find yourself, you can start now to shift your attitude, your perspective, and your thinking, as well as your attitude, to a better idea. If not now, when? Let us choose now to love freely, to laugh deeply, and to allow peace and joy to fill our souls. Let us choose it now. If not now, when? Let us choose each moment to feel the peace, to feed the joy, the peace, the love and compassion and truth inside of ourselves. Let us be kind to ourselves and others. Let us enjoy this wonderful journey and embrace our fellow travelers. If not now, when? Join me in a commitment to a higher road, a better way, a more loving way right now. If not now, when? Let us immerse ourselves in ideas that are life-embracing and choose actions that will lift ourselves and others up, that emphasize what's good. Because in this world, despite the fact that the news and the media try to tell us something different, there is much more good than not. There is much more good than not, and it only craves your eyes to see it. And when we see it and focus on it, believe it or not, we feed it, and it will grow. Let us commit random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty. Let us exercise the infinite love and compassion that resides inside of ourselves and in the depths of our being. Let us each embrace each and every moment. If not now, when? Let us embrace every moment and live the life it was meant to be right now. If not now, when? And so it is.